it's genuinely true. Like, you cannot date your type. If you are constantly dating your type and it ain't working out, girl, check them DMs. Look at his picture. If it's like, that's the one. I'm telling you, baby. When I met my boyfriend, who's my husband now, he'll even tell you, baby, it took me a little minute to, you know what I'm saying? You know, it took me about 2 days to start liking him. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being for real. About 2 days, okay? Because I was so used to like talking to light-skinned boys or just talking to boys who were more worried about their self, right? I done met a roughneck country bumpkin who would do everything for me, and I almost passed him up because he was dark-skinned, a little rough. Oh, y'all, when I tell you I would have been out here working 3 jobs, I was telling you right now. That care about themselves, they're gonna have you out here working 3 jobs just to fulfill what they need and their purpose in life. Baby, my man ain't never told me to go get no job. When he came to see me and he told my mom and them, he said, no, I want to take her so I can take care of her. I got this. My daddy handed me over so freely.
But some of you ain't know, I've been married for the past 5 years, and I'll be honest, I was not attracted to my wife when I first met her. She was not my speed. She's like the complete opposite of who I normally go after, but I just decided to give her a chance. Like I said, once again, she was not my type. She was not that attractive to me. But there was just something about her. I met her. We talked for a couple days. We hung out. She seemed very supportive. So I'm like, why not? I mean, you're not my type, but I'm going to give you a chance because I normally go for this type.
I get this question every single day. Truth. Should I date somebody that I am not sexually attracted to? And my answer to that is hell no. And for a plethora of reasons. For one, I would never want anybody to date me, nor would I want to date anybody that has to grow on me. If I can't be hype about you, if I can't feel like you're an accomplishment or something different or something that moves me when I meet you, I don't want you to have to warm up to me or me to have to warm up to you. But furthermore, when you date people that you're not physically attracted to, you 9 times out of 10 have to force yourself to sleep with them. You have to force yourself to stomach them. So you put yourself in positions that if it does go sour, you're going to always feel like I shouldn't have gave you unattractive chance anyway.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know I'm all about marriage. I've been actually out here helping people since 2020. So let's get into it. So this is always going to be a thing, all right? And it's all about the information that you are receiving, all right? You're always going to find people that are going to be pro, that you date somebody that's not your type, that's not your energy. And then you're going to have people that are going to be against it, 100% against it. And they're going to say, hey, no, you don't do that. So you say, oh, okay, Jay, what do you believe? Well, I believe, based off what I've seen, the research that I've gone through, talking to people, dealing with people, is not so much that it's about direct attraction most of the time. And I'm going to go through and clear a lot of this to you. It's more about sometimes the literal style or the literal things that the person is saying. It's like their energy, a lot more so than it is anything else. Again, let's give you an example. A lot of people think that they know me, and that's what's always really funny, especially the people that have known me maybe for 2 or 3 years. They're trying to, come up with what they think I am, what they think I am about. How do I roll? And the problem with that is because they're only seeing a part of my life. And it's not just the part of the 2 or 3 years or maybe even 5 years or 7 years that they've known me. It's also they're not taking into account the other things that I do outside of the time that I spend with them. So let me give you an example. So I actually have a spiritual mother that looks over me. All right. God assigned her to me a long time ago. She prays for me and she gives me guidance. All right. And through this, a lot of times me and her will have conversations. She's always trying to keep up with me. to kind of know, what's going on. And then I remember one time I was telling her, that I was actually doing this thing XYZ over here. And she was like, that doesn't sound like you. That doesn't sound like you. And then, we spent about 30 minutes with me explaining, okay, that I have this huge, amount of years that you did not know me. And I also had to say, there was all this time that I spent in high school and even in college when you did not know me. And I was like, because me and you have a, mother-son relationship, you do not understand how I work when it comes to women. You're assuming. You're assuming because you see more of the clean-cut exterior. You're seeing the fact that I don't curse. But I was like, I used to curse like a sailor in high school. I was like, things change when Jesus comes into your life. So basically, through that conversation, what she recognized was, oh, yeah, I'm dealing with the new version of you, the one that God has kind of changed and made into what we see right now. But there was another version of you that still exists within you, right? And see, that to me is one of the things that I always don't quite understand. See, most people, unfortunately, they don't change. All right. A lot of people don't change. But even if they didn't change, remember, you're only going to see a part of them. And the reason why this is important is because, again, a lot of people make assumptions based off of what they see on the outside. So, for example, in the first lady and what she was saying, I was used to going after these light-skinned pretty boys. Okay, and I was spending all my time with them trying to get at them, and then they would never give me any attention. Now, I don't necessarily think it's a light-skinned, dark-skinned thing. She actually did say that in her video, but I don't necessarily think it's a light-skinned, dark-skinned thing. I think what was happening was she evidently, like we talked about female sexual nature, we've talked about that before. You can go look at some of my older videos. Don't have time to go into it right now. But she's basically talking about, the fact that she was going after this particular type, this light-skinned pretty boy type. Now, there was other men there, probably light-skinned men that maybe were not pretty boys, or she could have talked about caramel colored men like myself, again, that she's probably not paying attention to because that's not really what she was looking for, right? And what happens a lot of times is that there's this assumption based off of your sexual past, what you think you like. And this is why I say what you think you like. And then so what ends up happening is you continue to stay in that vein. And this is most people. This is why I even tell you people that get divorced, they get married very quickly. And then there's people out here that have been single their whole life and they can't figure out how to get married. Because part of it is being, the wife or the husband energy. And then the other part is to find that other person, right? So if you're out here, we're going to talk to the women for a second, but it works the same way, for men. But if you're out here as a woman, you're being driven by your sexual nature. That's 100% your drive. It's the sexual nature. It's the sexual nature. It's the sexual nature. So these few men, like you go into a room of 100 men, your sexual nature is going to point out any man in that environment that lines up with your sexual nature. All right. And so what happens is you're immediately drawn to those men. So you position yourself to get close to those men talk to you, and then nothing in your life ever changes. But again, what we have to understand is if I took someone that was in your sexual energy, but I dressed them different, and see, this is the key. If I dressed them different, you would bypass them. Do you understand? Because a lot of women are making their decisions within literally 2 seconds. And I've talked about this before. A lot of men have noticed this. When you'll walk past a woman and you might say something to her and she's like, and then she keeps walking. So in less than 2 seconds, she has determined whether or not you are a good man or a bad man. And it's all based off her sexual energy and what you had on that day. So if you're a guy that, you were sitting around and you might have that energy that she likes, but today you're painting your house And so you literally have an anime shirt on, and your jeans. You don't have your chain on. You don't have anything else like that on, and you're just, man, I gotta get me something to eat real quick. So you run to the grocery store, and you get that, and then that's when you meet her. A lot of times she might bypass you. She looks at the anime shirt and she says, "Oh wow, that's not my type," and then she moves on when you could have been her type. But the bottom line is, at that moment, you didn't look the part. And women can't say they don't do this because, they make up their mind at a single glance. And the glance is not enough for you to know the depth of a man. And like the first lady was talking about, that has been a lot of my reality, right? Is because about 40%, 30 to 40% of the women, that I've dated have literally done exactly what the first lady did to me. They'll be right in front of me, and then they're like, "Oh crap, you're like exactly what I've been praying for." But then as I have the conversation, they'll also say, "Well, you're kind of not my type." And they love to say that. Women love to say that, which is also very disrespectful, just to let women know. So in the very beginning, it's okay to say those types of things. But by the time you're married, you definitely don't want to say that anymore, because evidently your type was flawed. And so you got to get out of that disrespect over time. All right. We need some accountability within ourselves. But anyway, let's get back to it. So now what you're dealing with, like I say, for me is, okay, they'll say all these things, but then they hang out with me. Okay. And then they're like, "You're like low key fun. You're not what I thought you would be. It's like, me and you have so much fun together, and we do this and we do that, and you're really handsome, and you're like 10 times better than any other guy that I've ever dated." And see, that is really where the problem is. And this is why I say you have to look at it from both sides. You can't just look at it at one side, right? And so that's the very first part of this. And I want to talk to it because I think female sexual nature gets in their way. Okay. And a lot of women, like I say, are going through this is because the first couple of men that you dated, okay, and that you had sex with, they had a certain energy. And now you're blindly following that energy, and you're following it for the rest of your life. And 9 times out of 10, your husband is not in that energy, because that energy is the energy 9 times out of 10 of Pookie and Raymond. And Pookie and Raymond ain't gonna marry you. They just gonna have fun with you, and then they're gonna move on. And the problem is all the other people out here, the Marcuses, the Dariuses, whoever it is you want to say, all these other men, the higher your body count is, and the more damaged you become by hanging out with Pookie and Raymond, the more those men are not going to want you. And so now you're disqualifying yourself over time, instead of keeping and understanding, oh, wow, I'm making this mistake. So how do men combat this where it's very difficult for women to combat it? Well, the answer is simple. When you look at it from a man's perspective, and the last guy, that you saw, okay, because there was 2 gentlemen, and one that was driving in a car. Well, actually, both of them was in a car, but the other one was driving. And that guy sort of talked about it, but, I think he was trying to talk to it to a general perspective, but really it needs to slide more towards men. See, men, when we see a woman, her attractiveness immediately gives her access. Okay, and her attractiveness, we can see it a little bit more, even when she's not dolled up, even when she's not, wearing the clothes and having the hairstyle or whatever it is. We don't see it always like that, and I'll admit that, but we do see a little bit more so than women do. All right. And because of that, and because of our draw to attractiveness, we will give women a chance, okay, that are not in our energy, that are not in our sexual energy. We do this all the time. And that allows us to actually meet different types of women. Now, most men frequent the same places. And because they frequent the same places, a lot of times they end up with the same type of person. All right. I did want to make sure I mentioned that. But in the offshoot that a man is not in the place where he's used to, and then he sees a woman, okay, he's able to make that jump, where it's a little bit more difficult for a lot of women to make that jump. All right. But it's not so much that men have, this, oh, well, we can always get away with it. No. I mean, men have to do a lot of things as well. And it kind of works the same, but not exactly the same. So the point of it is now, okay, should you date someone who is not your type? I believe you should date people that are not your type if you can find them attractive. Now, it's like I've said before, most people are attractive. Okay, I've talked about this. I've done proof on this and proof on this and proof on this. I got so many videos on it, so I'm not going to go into it. If you don't believe it, then you just don't believe it. Okay? But like I said, there's plenty of videos in my past that you can go see. Some of them explicitly talk about it. The last one I did was talking about this woman who had lost 160 pounds. All right? And you could literally see the night and day between her and another woman that I displayed in that video just with them losing weight. That was enough for a lot of men, not every man, but for a lot of men to consider those women to go from 5s and 6s, quote unquote, all the way up to 7s and 8s, if not even 9s in some people's category. All right. So a woman can change her beauty just like a man can change his grooming a little bit if they put in effort. All right. And that's why a key element is effort. Now, that being said, okay, if your type has not married you, okay, then your type ain't worth nothing. All right. And your picker is damaged. And the reason why I think so many women, really are hurting in this is because, again, they lean so much into the sexual energy. And, recently I was just sitting around and I was thinking about that. Just that whole concept. And I think God put it in women for a reason. I think it's a way to keep women kind of locked in, right? Because one of the things that I've learned about women, and it's so funny, and this is another thing why I don't understand why a lot of men don't get women eventually. Because if the more you really pay attention to them, the more they're actually very easy to understand. But women's sexual drive is very much, like I say, like a drug. And I've talked about this before. It's very much like a drug. And so they are constantly going after the drug. And they're very specific. If we want to start talking about, let's say, drugs for a minute. Okay, and you have meth, and you have cocaine, and you have heroin. Okay, and you have weed. Okay, and you have just wine and alcohol. Every woman is attracted to one of those drugs. And once she's in that drug, she doesn't want the other one. So if this woman, likes to do heroin, she's not going to want cocaine. It's nothing you can do to get her to go to cocaine. If she likes wine, you can't get her to drink vodka. She likes wine. That's what she likes. She likes wine. And that is how a lot of women's sexual energy is. Okay? If they like the quote unquote roughneck type dude that's rough around the edges and, he don't know where his next job is coming from, that's who she's sexually attracted to. That's what she wants. And then you have other women that they only want the GQ in a suit, making, all this money, type of dude that he thinks he's prettier than she is. And then that's the man that she wants. And they don't like to jump. Even if they will consider another man to be handsome, they don't like to make that jump, if that makes sense. And so that makes it very difficult for women, okay, to go, from man to man to man, but it also locks them into their husband. It really does. And see, a lot of men kind of understand this, where a lot of women, I think they can get confused by it, but it makes sense. It's really just logical. It's like every single woman, like I've told you all, I generally date younger women, but almost every single one of them have told me they've dated older men before. I'm not the first older man that they've dated. In fact, many of them say that's what they've always dated, has been older men, which is interesting, right? But again, it's the same thing. At 20 years old, a 28-year-old, 30-year-old man approached them, talked to them, got in a relationship with them, and now for the rest of their life, they're attracted to men that are significantly older than them. It really is just that simple. And that is how so many people work. But many times, again, we get locked in. And that's another reason why I've always encouraged everybody, both men and women, to give any person that's decently nice and that you can see as decently attractive, give them 90 days, or not necessarily 90 days, give them a date. And if the date works out really well, then you can continue in that process for 90 days to see where it's going, to see what type of person they are. And then you can make your decision. But see, I disagree with the fact that you have to be into that type in the beginning. I don't think you have to. Because your first type, you learned that type. You did. You learned it over time. You just don't remember it. It's like you don't remember how you learned how to walk. In fact, if you ever watch babies, it's fun for them to learn how to walk. They falling on all over themselves and they just laughing. They just think it's so much fun. Well, that's how God basically shields you in your first couple of relationships. You don't even recognize that you're falling in love with somebody until you're in love with them. You don't recognize that you're locked into their energy until you've locked it in. You don't recognize it until it's taken away. You know, and that's why it's so interesting. Because people think that they're in control, but they're not in control. And if you get around another person, you will start to mold slowly but steadily into their energy. And then you probably won't appreciate that energy for maybe 1 or 2 years until that energy becomes like clockwork and it becomes very natural for you. And then at that point, you'll start to really appreciate it and then be like, wow, this is the best I've ever felt. This is the best I've ever lived. This is the best anything has ever happened for me. So I think it can be very dangerous, okay, for people to 100% stay in their type. But I do believe that you need to be attracted to the person. Now, I 100% believe in that. Okay, I think women need to be attracted to the men and the men need to be attracted to the woman. However, it's difference between having this person that's like a 10 out of 10, super attractive, very, over the top, oh my gosh, so beautiful, so handsome, so whatever. That you don't necessarily need that. But you need somebody that you can look at and you can be like, yeah, I don't mind kissing this person. I don't mind holding hands with this person. I would be proud to show my friends this person. Okay, if you don't have that, then yeah, I agree. You need to leave that person alone. But just because you think a person is cute does not necessarily mean that you're overly attracted to that person. And I think that's key because see, a lot of our attraction, again, like I say, is really superficial. It really is. It's about the person's hairstyle. It's about the clothes they have on. It's about if they have makeup on or don't have makeup on. It's about whether or not the guy wears a chain or, does he wear t-shirts or does he wear jeans? What type of jeans does he wear? Does he wear Jordans? Does he wear, regular casual shoes? Does he wear suits? Does he wear vests? See, all of these things, change from person to person. Like I said, I dated a woman who really liked me literally in t-shirts and a chain. That's what she liked. I mean, when I would wear that, she would go crazy. But then I've also dated women that preferred me to be one step away from wearing a suit. So maybe a vest, a button-down shirt, maybe a full suit, type of deal, maybe without the tie, because I was never a big fan of ties. But then that would drive those women crazy. Same person, same build, okay, same energy, but one woman prefers this and another woman prefers that. And that's why I was saying most people will change a little bit to kind of mold with you a little bit. Like I told you, if I'm with a woman, woman I meet and the woman she'll become within a year is probably going to be two totally different women. Now, 85 to 90% of her will still be inside. Okay, but there's definitely going to be, some changes. Same thing for me. If I'm hanging out with her, there's going to be some changes. She's going to come in and she's going to clean a few things up to make it how she wants it. All right. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't take your full self into a relationship. Okay. It doesn't work. You have to give a little bit of yourself up, okay, in order to do that. And the Bible actually talks about that. Okay. If you want to find your life, you have to do what? Lose it. Okay. That is a principle of coming to God. It's also a principle of every single relationship. Anyway, remember, every other Thursday, we do Thursday Talk. So come out, have fun. You know, we love to have fun with it. We talk it up. We have really great conversations. That is your time to come out. Tell me you hated this video. You love this video. Work with and talk to some of the other people that hang out on this channel. And like I say, that's growing and growing all the time. So definitely come out and do that. But until then, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the very next video.